All right, good morning, everyone. I think
Good morning, sir.
we will begin from where we left in the last class, and then I will address any problems that you have for the project and submissions. So let's finish this presentation in next 40 minutes, and we'll keep the last 20 minutes for any project questions you have. Okay. So uh, last time I was talking about what are the uh, fees that you need to pay and what is the process for approving drawings uh, at the AMC and order. So we talked about some of the forms that you need to submit in the affidavit, the copy of 712. Uh, so I'll just begin from where I left. So you need a zoning certificate from the Ahmedabad Municipal Corporation, and what the certificate specifies is that this particular land where you are developing is in a certain zone and whether that zone allows or permits whatever you are constructing. Then there is a measurement sheet that is authorized by AMC, and this measurement sheet is the proof that whatever specified square meters of land that you have on which you are constructing is as per the records verified by the revenue department as well as the town planning department. Then there is something called part plan. Part plan is a map which specifically locates your land parcel. Uh, Again, that needs to be stamped by AMC. So that is something you need to do. They will reproduce it for you. Uh, Apart from there is one more no objection certificate from the Urban Land Ceiling Act Authority. Now, this act is no longer valid; it is repealed. However, the ULC authority is still there, and you need to get an NOC no objection certificate, which is easy to get. It's a one-stop solution for you guys, but it is mandatory to be submitted. Then you need the license, the proof with signature, and the stamp of the architect, engineer, structural engineer, and clerk of work. So, one thing that you have to be sure is that whenever you're registering for a project, you need four people, and these four people should be licensed people. So they need to get registered with the municipal corporation, and those four people are the architect, engineer. If you don't have an architect and the engineer can also prepare drawings for you, it's fine. But you need to make sure that they are registered. Then there is the structural engineer and the clerk of work. Clerk of work is a person who is more like a civil engineer on the construction side, who looks after everything from safety point of view to ensuring that the drawings, the construction is happening as per the drawings. So these four people are required, and these four people have to register themselves in the municipal corporation office. So this is the licenses that are issued. So even if you are a qualified architect or engineer, if you do not have the license to practice in the corporation, you cannot be part of a certain project. Then there is a property tax clearance certificate and the tax department. So if there is any pending property tax on uh, the particular property you are constructing, that needs to be cleared before you get the clearance certificate. The betterment tax or the betterment charge is as per the town planning scheme, the form F. So that you need to clear and get a certificate. and then you need a drawing opinion from the drawing department. So whatever you're constructing uh, is as per the building bylaws specified by the municipal corporation. And so you need an opinion from the drawing department that your particular drawings are as per the building bylaws, which include things like margins, setback, the built-up areas, all those things. And in a draft town planning scheme, opinion of town planning officers is required. So a town planning scheme has three stages. One is draft, second is preliminary, and third is final. If your plot happens to fall within the draft town planning scheme stage, you need the opinion from the town planning officer from that building, from that TP scheme, that whatever building you are constructing uh, is actually on the final plot allocated to you, and you're not doing it on somebody else's plot. So those are some of the things you need for the approval. Now, I will not go into the physical planning process because most of the things are happening online now. This is an old presentation, so I will skip this part. Earlier, you had to physically go with the documents and papers, which you still need to go, but usually you upload it online and then you take a print out of that and you just take that particular file and submit it to the corporation. Now let's talk about the UDA. So in Gujarat, across all UDAs, this is a pretty standard format of how you go about getting permission. So again, there is something called the part plan. For that, you have to pay fees. You have to pay the fees for the zoning certificate, for the measurement sheet. Now, these rates might have changed because this is old data. This is as old as 2012 or 13. But the process is the same. The rates might have changed. Then you need the F form officially. You have to pay for it. Then there is a scrutiny fee. Scrutiny fee is the fee that whatever design you putting forward uh, is as per again the building bylaws and norms. So for residential building, it was rupees 3 per square meter of the built-up area. Now I think it is up to 8 to 10 rupees. For commercial, it was 5. It's up to 15 or 20, I guess. If it's a public charitable trust, it's 100 rupees. This has not changed much, but for commercial residential building, it has changed. If there is subplotting or amalgamation, so if you are dividing a single plot into two parts, let's say you do phase one of development, or if you are combining two plots and doing a project, so there is a separate fee for that. Okay, and so if it's other than agricultural area, it's 1.5 rupee. It was 1.5. I think right now it's about 5 rupees per square meter. And if it's an agricultural land, where you're doing an agricultural plotting, it's about 1 rupee as of now. Old data. So, let's go ahead. All right. I'm audible to everyone, right? The computer is freezing.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so
Yes, sir.
let's continue. In the UDA section, you have to pay for the betterment charges as per the town planning scheme F form. Then there is a separate fee for tree plantation, which the UDA collects. Uh, so, and it is a little weird because if your unit size is less than 80 square meter, and again, this is built up area, not the super built up area, it was rupees 125 per unit. Now this has increased. Uh, so, depending on the built up areas, you have to pay a certain fee. For an individual bungalow or a subplot, it was 2,500 per unit. Again, this might have changed. All these numbers you might have to cross check if you're doing in reality, but this the list is the same. There is a separate fee for solid waste management per unit you have to pay. You have to pay for the amenity fees if you are constructing a school, college, education institute, etc. uh, and if you're doing something else, it is different. So it is much less for an institutional building compared to residential or a commercial building. Again, based on the actual built-up area, not the super built-up area. Then there is a development charge, and this is again a separate charge they take for the land, and depending on what you are constructing, whether the building is residential, commercial, or industrial, the charges may vary. Okay. So that's another fees you need to pay. So that was for the land, and then there is a separate development charge for the construction of the same, whether it's a residential, commercial, industrial. So there are two types of development charges. One is for the land, and one is for the construction. Uh, you also have to pay for additional FSI if you're buying an additional FSI. This were the old data of if you're buying payment FSI. Uh, Sometimes it's 25%, sometimes it's 50% of the existing FSI, whatever is available as per the building bylaws and norms. Uh, and usually that is subject to the zone it is in. I think in R2 zone, the current FSI is 1.2, and you can take it to up to 1.8. So 50% you can get more in R1 zone, at least in Ahmedabad. It is 1.8, and you can buy another 50%, so you can take it to 2.7. And as of today, as we talk, the additional FSI payment is as per the Jantri rate. It's 40% or 50% of the Jantri value. Uh, just look into that. And these were the flat rates that were existing before. So that has changed, but you still have to pay for the additional FSI. Uh, if there are unauthorized development in the existing plot, you have to pay a separate fee for that. Most likely, you'll have a vacant plot or you'll demolish it before you apply, so this won't apply to you. Then there are separate drainage charges because what happens is that usually you have the drainage connection that goes from your site to the urban drainage sewer line. And so for that connection, you need to pay a separate fee. And again, that fee is different for residential and commercial. Then there is another clause for paying a certain amount of fee of rupees, let's say 30 per square meter of built up area that construction labor cess. Now this labor cess was removed the last I checked, but it still might be there. So you might want to look into the labor cess, and maybe there were a couple of other cess taxes added. There are two more added, I believe, and I think labor was removed. I think it was now called a human development fee, but just take into that that's human resource development. So that is so these are the basic 15 things you need to look into when you're getting your plans approved locally. So I want to quickly talk about the different NOCs that are required, and let's begin with the airport NOC. So it is required for all buildings with height more than 16.5 meters or all buildings falling within the funnel area of the local airport. So if your building is height is 16.5 meters, I think they upgraded that to 18 meters now, which is 6 stories. Any building which is above 6 stories is called a high-rise building as per the National Building Code. And every such building is required to get a NOC from the airport. Now, if your building is below 18 meters, okay, and still if it's falling within the funnel area is the area around the airport where the flights take off and land, then despite the height, you still have to get the NOC from the airport. So the procedure is you need to submit the affidavit to the authority regarding the sanction of building plans. So all the building plans that you submitted to the UDA or the corporation, you have to also submit to the airport authority. and usually this is done before your building reaches 16.5 meters. So you can continue construction of your frame structure until you reach this height. But at this height, you need to stop if your airport NOC has not arrived. And on the parallel side, you need to submit all detailed drawing uh, with the height in reference to the mean sea level. Okay, so that is the level they consider for the height of the building. Usually, if you look at the heights that the UDA and corporation allows, it is usually in reference to the level of the road that is next to the construction site or the land. So the height of the building is considered from the road level. But in case of the airport, the height is measured from the mean sea level, and that's very important because that's different in both cases. So many times you have these roads which are, paved and their height is increased, and so sometimes the difference in the height could be almost close to 1 to 2 meters. So that is crucial. So what will the airport officials do after you apply for the NOC? They'll visit your site. Okay, they'll conduct a site visit. They'll verify the mean sea level, and they'll make a report, and that report will go to Mumbai. That's the ultimate authority responsible for releasing the NOC. So in case of NOC, the NOC will come from Mumbai, although you will be, uh, you know, uh, submitting it to the local airport. So if you're in Ahmedabad, you submit your, you know, application for NOC in the Ahmedabad airport. You don't have to physically go to Mumbai. And if there is a problem, if further permission is required, it will go to Delhi. So there are two levels of clearance that you will need. Most of the cases from Mumbai, you'll get it done. Uh, Usually, it takes 3 to 6 months to get your airport NOC. So you have to start little early. There are a lot of parallel NOC procedures that a developer needs to do while the project is on. Uh, and I must tell you that airport NOC is not something. All these NOCs are not always mandatory. Uh, I mean, only if the building height is beyond a certain point, you need that NOC. Let's talk about railway NOC. So it's required for buildings falling within the 30 meters distance from the railway boundary. Okay, not the railway track. So every railway track has a boundary. It's usually 12 meters on either side, 12 to 15 meters. And from that point, if your building is within 30 meters distance, then you need to get a railway NOC. Again, you have to submit an affidavit to the authority regarding NOC. This is before applying for the BU permission. Uh, on the parallel, you need to submit all the detailed plans, and the officials will do a site visit to verify the distance. Now, in case of Gujarat, there are two zones for getting NOC. One is Bhavnagar and one is Baroda. Okay. So, depending on the railway line, the permission is obtained from the either authority. So, if you are in the north-south corridor, that is starting from almost Palanpur in the north all the way to Surat Vapi in the south, you would be probably applying to the Baroda uh, zone, get the energy. And if your land is usually in or the city is in Saurashtra, then Bhavnagar is the place where you will get the energy for the railway. The maximum height granted in such cases is 2D, where D is the distance from the building line. And this I had explained that your building height is usually uh, you can go up to 2D, the distance from the boundary to the height of the building. So if your building is, let's say, 15 meters from the railway boundary, your maximum building height can be 2D, that is 30 meters. So you can only build up to, let's say, 10 stories. Although the FSI or whatever may allow you to build higher, if you're falling within that distance, you cannot exceed this distance. And this is usually left for the safety concerning railway lines. Time is 1 to 3 months. So in case an NOC is not obtained, the BU permission is not granted. Okay. So these are most of the NOCs that you will be obtaining after RERA registration, because most of these NOCs are required for building use permission rather than construction, except for the airport. Okay, so these are it's crucial to understand that. Then there are ONGC lines which are passing through, uh, you know, around the cities. These are usually underground pipes, but it is required for buildings located on plots abutting to either above or abutting on plots where ONGC pipeline passes. So many times you have to keep a track from where the ONGC pipes are passing. These are ONGC stands for Oil and Natural Gas Corporation, and these are oil supply pipes. And if your building is situated within 0.5 meter distance, the permission is not granted. This means that a total of 21 meters of corridor is required. So if I was to very quickly explain you this, I'll just open, I'll just open the whiteboard, I guess. Just stop this way. Or rather, I'll just use paint. Just hold on. I'm opening another program just like whiteboard. It is called MS Paint because I find it a little easier to use, and I'll share that with you. Just give me a moment. Okay, let's switch to paint and see what we get. Okay, so all right.